My name is Steve Smith. This is TQA Weekly. If ever you have any questions, comments, suggestions for topics, email me at ask@tqaweekly.com. Go to my website, tqaweekly.com. You can interact with others on this episode, past others. Find other ways of subscribing and use the contact form to email me directly. And if you're already on YouTube, you can comment down below. And if you want to make this show better, get these episodes 24 to 48 hours in advance of everyone else, go to patreon.com/TQA Weekly and become a patron today. And this week's topic is one that will enlighten you about the privacy on the internet and how it can be a myth. I'm going to actually explain to you why a lot of these privacy selling programs are selling you half-truths, whether they are free or not, and despite their intentions, don't necessarily actually succeed at what their primary task is. I'm going to do so by explaining to you various things that have to do with the internet. So first of all of the connections on the internet are done with packets. Packets are given a value of a time to live, which is TTL. They can actually go up to 255. This will be important, keeping in mind that a lot of people just negate the entire knowledge of how a packet gets to the website, many actually thinking that it goes directly to the website, which is why a lot of laws actually say, especially in Europe, that websites have to indicate that they use cookies or not, to which I say that is complete bullshit, any waste of time. I do it anyway, but all websites use cookies. I'm Canadian, so I don't really have to do it, and I don't care. But still, all websites use cookies whether they like to or not. That's just the way it is. And what I'm about to tell you will probably freak you out. So first of all, we know that packets can connect to up to 255 different routers and servers because that is the value that they are given. That is the maximum. Now, your online identity is typically identified to you using an IP address, cookies, and to some extent browser fingerprinting, to which I've already used in websites, especially to combat people trying to log in through brute force. So, I mean, cookies are good, but fingerprinting the browser is actually more accurate and actually defeats the idea of cookies if you try to block it. So, keeping that in mind. And there are a lot of different services out there like Tor, VPNs, and proxies that will give you the ability to hide your IP address. But before we get to that, I would like you to know that every time you connect your computer to the internet, whether you're in a browser or not, it sends out a bunch of packets to multiple different services on the internet. When you connect to your browser, it connects to multiple different services to allow you to navigate the internet, such as domain name servers that allow you to actually exchange the domain name for the IP address and allow you to connect to the correct server so you can actually get the actual websites that you want, as well as the many different services that operating systems have to figure out if you have updates to do and various things, as well as programs doing the same thing. So basically, when you connect on the internet, you're setting off a whole bunch of fireworks. And all these service requests use packets that actually have your IP address, their destination, and a TTL, which they can basically figure out just how far the packet has gone. To which I have to point out something. So while they are transiting through the internet through a bunch of different routers and servers, these routers and servers are probably saving the metadata from your connection, as well as aggregating it and selling this information after to third-party companies that use this to identify you on the internet and sell you products on the internet or in actual life. Because some of these packets actually have GPS information in it so that you can actually be identified to a very specific local range so that it comes out to you're not really all that private on the internet. Up to 255 servers per packet, because not all the packets take the same route, can actually record your information. And to make things even worse, they don't have to give you a privacy policy. They don't have to explain to you what they do with this information. The mere fact of you using this means that you agreed with it, and you can't determine the route because packets take the shortest or fastest route possible in an ever-changing internet. So basically, you're kind of boned. So while privacy policies and laws require notifications and blah 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 on the internet for websites, we basically forget the fact that there are a whole bunch of different servers and routers out there just doing whatever the hell they want. So then we have VPNs, Tor, and proxies, which basically all offer the same thing. They exchange your IP address for a different one so that you can connect on the internet more anonymously. Now, this only works if there is sheer amount of numbers. If everyone connects through a different VPN right now, you're using a unique connection. That makes it very easy to spot who you are on the internet. To make sure that you are private, there has to be fewer servers and more people using them so that they can actually benefit from numbers of people connecting to create confusion. Because if too few people use the service, you are still identifiable, defeating the entire purpose. So at this point, your privacy online is kind of a myth, and those programs are selling you half-truths if they don't actually tell you that they have a lot of people or not using their service. So the more people using their services, the more private you are, but this is through sheer confusion. And for those out there that say, well, using a router might actually at least hide my identity behind a local router, so let's say you're 7 people behind your router, it only holds true if you're using IPv4. A lot of people are starting to use IPv6. A lot of cell phones already support IPv6. So IPv6, though, has its own IP address. So keeping this in mind, you have to have a lot of people using those VPNs, Tor, and proxies in order to hide your identity on the internet. To which, on top of all this, you have SSL, which has a very thin silver lining. If you're connecting to a publicly accessible page that's served over SSL, so like my website, then they can still figure out what you're looking at because they can navigate to it. Then if you're using what they call the dark or deep web, and you're connecting to a secure service, well, it depends on how the server's configured or the website's configured. If you access the service, go and see the messages, delete the messages, and they're not stored anywhere else, there's no logs or anything, then you're basically secure to that sense. They may know where you're connecting to, but depending on the configuration, they don't know who you're talking to, and if they don't store any of the information as an archive, then they don't know what the messages are. But here's the thing. Most companies use that information anyway, so they do store it. And a lot of them have to store it because of laws and requests. And if they are served a warrant for you, they still have to record this information even if there's no intent to save this information. So you're only kind of secure with SSL. Which brings me to the other point. SSL over Tor, VPNs, and proxies does not actually hide your identity whatsoever if you are stupid enough to log into somewhere. So your cookies and browser fingerprints will give you away, no matter how many people are using VPNs, Tors, and proxies, which is why Tor ships with a clean browser, which is why you should always use a clean browser if you're using a proxy or a VPN, because the very act of logging in allows these companies to, again, record all your packets and aggregate this information so that all of your different types of connections that you do give you away. And just to reinforce my entire point, when Edward Snowden said that the NSA had a program called PRISM, what they were recording was the metadata from the packets. That is how valuable they are. They tell everyone what you're doing on the internet, what you're looking for, who you're communicating with, what you're communicating with, and this is why privacy online is, for all intensive purposes, a myth. There's nothing you can do about it, and the only way to solve this is to have fewer services, fewer VPNs, fewer proxies, and more people using them, and more people using things like Tor to actually make it possible for people to masquerade in the confusion. But that only works if you do not log in to anything. So if you're going to set up a browser on your computer to use a VPN or a proxy, make sure it does not record any cookies whatsoever. Because if you're able to log in anywhere and you do so just by habit, you basically give yourself away and you now have to get rid of that specific VPN or proxy endpoint because it's no longer a private connection. It is now a unique connection that can be identified to you. Like this episode if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't, and of course share with those that you think can benefit from this. And if you want to get these episodes 24 to 48 hours in advance for everyone else and make the show better, go to my Patreon at patreon.com/TQA Weekly. All the information is there. Have a great day and